Shalom. All praise is due to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. The bonus of the elect apostle, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone that were well. Shalom to elect Ak out there doing this work in sincerity and truth, and not for vainglory, in season and out of season. Shalom to the elect men, women, sons, and daughters of the nation of Israel, which are the men, women, sons, and daughters of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indian, Haitians, Seminole Indians, scattered through the four corners of the earth. Shalom. All right, let's bring out the scripture of what's happening now. Okay, about how the prophets prophesied. Okay, so let's get right to it. Jeremiah, the 28th chapter and the 8th verse. The prophets that have been before me, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay, so we got again the prophets, word prophet, before, for say, to say something before it happens. Okay, so the prophets of old, Moses, Jacob, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Nahum, Malachi, Micah, Habakkuk, all the prophets of old. Okay, all right. The prophet Daniel. Okay, so those are the prophets of old, but the prophets are back here in the reincarnation. Okay, doing the same thing. Okay, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied, because that's what we're doing out there. When you see the apostles, bishops, elders, and brothers, Great Millstone, and you got, first and foremost, because that's the head camp, that's the top camp with the 100% truth. And you got the other groups out there. You got to give them some credit, because they're out there teaching Israel. When Nate of the IUIC, Bishop Nate or General Nate, whatever he wants to call himself, if they prophesied the right thing, the apostles give them credit for it. Yeah, they go off on a lot of things, but they're still out there doing the work. Well, the IUIC is the men that is under him. I don't think Nate really goes out too much, and then you got other camps out there too, man, that's not of Great Millstone. I've seen some of them, you know what I'm saying, and they out there too, the various different One West Israelite groups. Okay, but the head camp is the apostles, bishops, elders, and brothers of Great Millstone. It says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied. And what have the apostles, bishops, elders, and brothers been prophesying? The destruction of America, man. The Third World War. And, you see that's happening now. All these heathen nations, they all getting mixed up in this attack on Iran. Of course, like the scriptures say, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who's the least of the flock? The state of Israel over there. Okay, with the small hats. Okay, and they drew America into attacking Iran. Which Israel is attacking Iran too. with bombs and missiles and such. Okay? They've been prophesying about Third World War. And now all the other nations are getting into it. You know, I think NATO said they're going to help America out too. You know, NATO, NATO is the European countries. You know, uh, Germany, France, so forth. Okay, so they're getting involved in this too. And then what's going to happen is Russia is going to get involved. China is going to get involved because Russia and China is allied with Iran. You know, so it's going to be a third world war. You know, the scriptures tell you about that. Okay, so that's what we've been prophesying, and we've also been prophesying about what? The microchip, which is the mark. Okay, which is that mark. All right, you know, the microchip. Okay, that's another major prophecy that has to happen, and that's going to happen. The microchip will be made mandatory. Okay, it says prophesied both against many countries. Yeah, that's right. And what's one of the main countries that we prophesy against? America. You know? All right? Because Israel's going to receive the state of Israel with Benjamin Netanyahu. You know? They're going to receive nuclear missiles that's going to hit the state of Israel too. Okay? All right? You know? So the prophets prophesied against many countries. Now, just because, you know, we say Russia, which are the Medes, is going to shoot nuclear missiles over here, doesn't mean that we don't prophesy against Russia either. You know? All right? All right? Because they're going to receive nuclear missiles from America as well. It's just that America is going to be completely, utterly destroyed. All right? I believe that's Isaiah the 13th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? Yes, so that's what the prophets do, man. Against many countries. You know? We say all these countries are gonna, all these countries, the various different heathen countries, all right? Heathen nations, like the Arabs, the Persians, which would be over there in Iran. Okay? All right? The other Edomite countries, which they all, Russia, France, Germany, you know, Belgium, Italy, you know, Greece, you know what I'm saying? All these other countries, Spain, you know, which there's a lot of Edomites over there. When I say Esau, when I say Edomites, I'm talking about these so-called white people, that they're going into slavery. Under who? Under first and foremost, Yahweh is going to send his son, Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai is going to put all these heathen nations in slavery. Under who? Under Yahweh Shai and his people, starting with the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay? Which are the elect of you so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians. Here in the Americas, North, South, and Central America, and which are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, starting with the elect first, and then all the Israelites. The rest of the Israelites that's going to be destroyed, you know, in the time of Jacob's trouble, in this by Yahweh Shai on a giant-sized chariot, and the other angels shooting lasers out of their chariots. Okay? You know, they're going to come back through the elect, and they're going to rule over the heathen nations as well. Okay? You know? both against many countries and against great kingdoms. Yeah, because you had great kingdoms back in the ancient world. You know, I was watching something earlier about the Babylonian Empire. You know how there was a great kingdom. You know, all right. They were running things at that particular time. Okay, and, you know, then you had the Medo-Persian Empire. They were running things at a certain amount of time. You know, all right. Okay, you know, because I was watching it, and I remember the Apostle Kabar said, "Wow, this is many years ago." You know, they about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is one of the seven wonders of the world. You know, so you had many great kingdoms, but what's one of the great kingdoms? The great kingdom that it's talking about now, America. Okay, yeah, Russia got the nukes. Okay, got the nuclear missiles. China got the nuclear missiles. All right. NATO, the European countries, they got nuclear missiles. All right. India, Pakistan, they got nuclear missiles. You know what I'm saying? You know? All right. But yeah, but we prophesied them. Prophesied, the prophets prophesied against these kingdoms. Okay. Against them. All right. All right. But America was that great kingdom. Okay. Of war. And you see what's happening. The Third World War is popping up, man. There is going to be a Third World War. All these nations are getting involved over Israel sending America to go over there and bomb and sending bombs and missiles over there to Iran. And Israel is sending bombs and missiles over there too. Okay? So all these nations are going to get involved because all these nations have allies. All right? And of evil. Eve meaning time, ill meaning bad. So bad times. Okay? You know? Because look what's going over there in Iran. Okay? Man, they bombing the hell out of Iran. But guess what? Iran is bombing the hell out of the state of Israel too. You know? All right? And of pestilence. All right? So yeah, man. So, you know, all the prophecies, you know, because that's what we're supposed to be teaching about, preaching about the prophecies. All right, that's going to take place. Okay, so this is what the prophets do, man. They don't go out there and tell you, you know, oh, God gonna give you money and just give me the money and he's gonna bless you and that prosperity garbage, man. What these pastors in the church do and about marriages and getting a righteous woman and all this bullshit, man. You know, all right, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay, so I hope you've been edified, and with that, shalom.